I left Philadelphia Airport at 2:30 this morning. Jonathan and I were there to gather Ann and Dion coming in from Mayo Clinic. So it was about 4 in the morning by the time I was asleep in my bed. You may pay some price for that. I would try to keep my thinking straight and my thoughts fluid so that we can address together this very important issue of peace. You know, when the clergy and residents began to talk about what we were going to do as a theme for this Christmas season, we decided that we would seize upon that great cultural event called shopping that has now dominated what Christmas seems to be all about, almost like a social event rather than a religious, significantly important event. And we began to think about how all of the people are out shopping for just the right gift, and how we forget that the real gifts of Christmas are joy and hope and love and peace. Not things you can really shop for. And yet we're often looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for joy in all the wrong places, looking for hope in all the wrong places, and looking for peace in all the wrong places, as if we were shopping in the wrong stores. So we decided as the clergy and residents to try to refocus our attentions on the central meaning of what the Christmas event is truly representing. And that's why you've had the series of sermons that you've had up until today. Where we deal with the issue of peace. And the real question for us is peace a delusion? Or is it a real possibility? At the very least, peace is a dream. A dream some of us have. A dream that goes far back into the history of humanity, and certainly far back into the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And one of those who dreamed the dream was the prophet Isaiah. You have in your bulletins 2 of the lines from his famous statement, but I'm going to read as the scripture today the entire statement, beginning with Isaiah 9, ending with his 6th verse. This is Isaiah's dream. But there will be no gloom for those who were in anguish. In the former time he brought into contempt the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. But in the latter time he will make glorious the way of the sea, the land beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who have walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation, you have increased its joy, they rejoice before you. As with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder, for the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the tramping warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born to us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So is the dream of Isaiah. The dream when the world is not characterized by war, when the world is not characterized by people downtrodden, when the world is not characterized by love of power, but a world that is characterized by the power of love. A world that no longer in darkness, a world that has finally seen the light. A world that recognizes that the light shines on them. A world that sees a paradigm, a figure, a person, if you will, one who can show us the possibilities of where humanity really is. One we would call Wonderful Counselor. One we would call Prince of Peace. It's a dream he had, like Merlin's dream of Camelot. It was a dream, a vision, a thought of a world not yet come to be, but a world grounded in possibility. When I was a child, I read a lot of poetry. Don't know why my parents had a lot of poetry books in the house. One of my favorite poets at that time was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I quoted him, I think, the last time I spoke here. I was struck even then by this poem by Longfellow when he said, I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, recognizing him. And wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill toward men. I thought how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. It's a powerful message. You know, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow always has the ability to say it better than I do, but that's the message. That we dream the dream, but we live the despair. And why is that? It is, I want to suggest to you, because we have taken the stance, and much of Christianity has taken the stance, that that's someone else's job. That was Jesus' job. That was the disciples' job. That's Mother Teresa's job. That's Martin Luther King Jr.'s job. That there's someone else out there who's supposed to make the peace. Oscar Romero can do that for me. It's really not my job. I'll dream the dream, but I'm not ready to do the work. I'm not ready to be the one who puts his or her life on the line for the sake of those who are despised and downtrodden. I'm not the one who's going to be out there because, after all, I'm too busy shopping. to take the stand that needs to be taken. I'm not the one who is young enough anymore to stand up for peace. I'm old after all, and I've put in my time. I'm not the one who's at peace enough with myself to participate in making the dream of a world of peace come true. And that's when we begin to get down to it. Most of us can dream the dream of a world in peace, peace on earth, goodwill to men. But we're not even at peace with ourselves. That harsh, critical inner voice that tells us our every flaw, that reminds us of our every mistake, that condemns us for our every unfortunate decision, that unrelenting critical voice that tells us that we're not good enough, or we're not well enough, or we're not attractive enough, or we're not lovable enough. And the church, with its concepts of original sin and its concepts of the fallacies of humanity, doesn't help a bit. The church reinforces the idea that we are worthless, unable to eat from the crumbs from the table. The church reinforces the idea that you ought not to be at peace with yourself because you are a sinner and you're inadequate and you're lost. And so it preaches a message of dependency. You have to believe that someone else will do it for you. Jesus of Nazareth, perhaps. And so Christmas becomes a time where we celebrate the one who has come to do it for us. And all we have to do is believe that he will do it for us because we can't do it ourselves. So we dream the dream, but we live the despair. And the dream remains possibility or a delusion. And since that harsh, critical inner voice that denounces ourselves to ourselves is so vocal and so clearly heard, we cannot possibly trust the other person because they, after all, are no better than we are. They're just as sinful, just as flawed, just as untrustworthy. Do I not project my own attitudes and way of being into the lives of others? If I lie, surely they lie. If I am deceitful, surely they're deceitful too. If I cheat, surely they cheat. If I'm untrustworthy, surely they're untrustworthy. Aren't we all participants in this great sinfulness that is our humanity? So I can't make peace with you. And if you're different from me, I really can't make peace with you. Because now I've projected my own lack into you. But your difference has engendered fear in me. So if you're of a different culture, or a different race, or a different religion, I can't make peace with you because I can't trust you. You're not like me, and being like me is no big deal. So someone else, the peacemakers, blessed are the peacemakers, let them do it. I'm too afraid to be a peacemaker. You're too different. I don't know you well enough. And to know you means that I have to let you know me. And I don't want you to know me because if you know me, you'll reject me because of all those flaws my inner voice tells me I have. So I can't make peace with myself and I can't make peace with you. So shall we even speak of peace for the world? Now that's someone else's jobs too. That's the politician's job. Maybe we'll get a good Secretary of State. And he or she will make peace on earth and have goodwill toward others. That's not my job. That's way over my head. I don't even understand that stuff. I may not even vote next time. It's not me. I'm just one person. What could one person do? And I'm flawed at that. There is no good news in that, my friends. It becomes a dream bordering on delusion to speak of peace on earth. And yet, the faith, the attitudinal approach to life that is our faith, compels us to say, no, it is a dream to be pursued. It is a worthy cause. The faith calls us to recognize that what we have seen in this child in Nazareth is, this child from Nazareth is what we can see in ourselves. The Christmas event calls us in our faith to affirm again that peace is possible because love is possible, and hope is possible, and joy is possible. Our faith compels us to confirm and affirm that we ourselves have the capacity to co-create this experience we call peace. That the inner voice can be set aside for one that reminds us that we have the capacity for loving and caring and sharing. The inner voice can be set aside that reminds us that others have the same capacity for loving and caring and sharing, and we can join with them in great causes of peace. The faith compels us to say we can turn the other cheek. We can love the neighbor. We can reach out to the neighbor in need. We can reach out and welcome the stranger. Our faith compels us to say peace is possible at this table where all are welcome. Where race and distinction and wealth and poverty all set aside because we all participate and live and move and have our being in the God of love. The Christmas message is God is with us incarnate. And that tells us something about us, not just about some babe in a manger. The Christmas faith tells us that God is with us because God is part of us. And the God in me can recognize the God in you because together we do live and move and have our being in the God that is love, and that nothing can separate us from that God and from that love. That's good news. And it's on the basis of that good news that we began to again reclaim the worth that is in us, and in reclaiming the worth that is in us, the value of being who we are, we own the responsibility of what that being who we are means in co-creating the peace on earth that is the Christian claim. It's a dream. It will most likely not be fulfilled in our lifetimes. It's a dream. Peace on earth. But it's one in which we can participate. It's one in which we can co-create. It's one in which we can be ourselves fully, authentically, self-actualizingly, in such a way that as persons of faith, we begin to make a difference. If I'm too busy, or I'm too old, or I'm just too tired to be committed to peace, then what is the meaning of my being here? I have to remember what I have seen in the Christ. I have to remember what I've seen in other paradigmatic figures that have illuminated my life. I have to remember what I've seen, the difference one person can make, and I have to remember that I can be such a person. So my first task is to come to at-one-ment, atonement with me. And to remember that flawed as I may be, the kingdom of God is within me. The capacity for love is part of who I am. And then I need to see you as the precious, unique person you and only you are. To see, really see and celebrate your preciousness, every single one of you. To look you in the eyes and see the preciousness of you, the worthiness of you, the value of you, and be glad in you. Then the peacefulness to get one with me makes that one with you possible. And because we together form community, the community of those who celebrate life, we can encounter others and celebrate the difference rather than fear it. Celebrate the diversity and the plenitude of graciousness that makes us who we are, rather than stand against it. And become the community of humanity, called to love, called to hope, called to joy, called to peace. So Henry Wadsworth Longfellow says, "And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. But then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail. With peace on earth, goodwill to men." Let us make it so.